Okay, so very good afternoon to all of you. Actually, a very good morning. We still have time for a good afternoon. Guys, today I will be talking about how to prepare for CLAT 2021. Those are ICTS CLAT, how to go about that. Uh, so, just a second. Okay, so I hope I'm audible and there are no issues. Okay, so is the presentation visible? I'm just checking with my team if I'm good to go. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's start this session by a brief introduction about myself. So my name is Amandeep Rajgotra, guys. I teach legal aptitude at PRATHAM Test Prep, and in case you like this video, I would request you to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So I'm a lawyer by education, and I graduated in the year 2009 from Nalsa University of Law, Hyderabad, and I've been teaching legal aptitude for the last 10 years now. So what I'm going to do today is, and why I'm doing this session today, right? That's the first important question I need to answer, right? So why I'm doing this session? Because we were getting a lot of queries on as to how to prepare for CLAT and how to go about it with our boards as well. Because this year there is a change, or what change kya hai that we don't have the usual dates for CLAT. This year, usually it is in the month of May, but this year CLAT will take place in the month of June, immediately after your board exams. So we were getting a lot of queries as to how we go about this, how do we prepare for CLAT 2021. So we thought that why not answer all these queries through one session. And today I'll be taking all your queries as well. But firstly, let's just look at CLAT and what is it about. Okay, so what is CLAT now? It's a national level entrance exam for the national law universities in the country. Okay, how many seats are there? Because there is a lot of confusion. Again, every year there's a change in number of seats. New NLUs join CLAT. So we can assume that there are close to 2836 seats under CLAT, right? NLU Delhi, which has their own entrance exam known as the AILET exam, right? So that's a different exam altogether. So अगर हम NLU Delhi को साथ में नहीं रखते हैं, then we have 2836 seats under the CLAT exam. Now, why is this important? This is important because the selection rate to the NLUs is around 3%. Now, if you look at all the major entrance exams in the country, right, where there are a lot of people writing the exam, we feel that the best rate is there in the CLAT exam, right? The selection rate. Why? Because if I give you exact numbers, close to 67 to 68,000 people registered for the UG program of CLAT last year, right? This is the exact number. The total number was close to 77,000, but that was UG plus PG, right? But UG exam की अगर हम बात करते हैं, तो that number was close to 67,000, and we have 2836 seats for the NLUs under CLAT. So that ways the selection rate we can see is really good as far as the CLAT exam is considered. Okay, now these CLAT scores, right? Whatever score you will get in your CLAT exam. Now, this is also very important. Why? Because there could be a lot of people watching this from Delhi, and they also want to know that other than CLAT, right? What options do we have? Because NLU Delhi has a separate exam. So what other options we have other than CLAT? So DG SIPU University and Nirma Law University. There are a lot of other universities which again use the CLAT scores. So agar aapka CLAT may, for some reason, for some unfortunate reason, if you're not able to clear CLAT, then this score, you don't make it to any of the top NLUs, or आपका कोई NLU आपको नहीं मिलता है, then this score can also be used for your admission process at other law schools as well. So that is also very, very important. A lot of people ask that why is CLAT so important, and what about AILET and the LSAT exam? So those exams are also important, but at the same time, what is the most important thing here? That this score can be used for other CLAT exams as well. Also, the preparation, right? The preparation for this is also the base for other legal exams such as AILET and SLAT. So if you're preparing well for CLAT, right, you are automatically preparing for your AILET and SLAT exams as well. So this is a brief introduction about the CLAT exam. Okay. Now let's just give me 1 second, guys. 1 second here. I'm just facing a little internet issue here. Just 1 second. Okay, so all good. Okay, so perfect. So this was why the CLAT exam is so important. So that's the first thing, because it also becomes the base for your other exams like your AILET and your SLAT exam. SLAT is obviously all the people who are joining in here, they must be knowing the SLAT is for the symbiosis, that is symbiosis law admission test, which is for your SIMB colleges across the country, right? So those are the other two exams. But CLAT, if you're preparing well for CLAT, what I'm trying to say here is that you are automatically preparing for your AILET and SLAT exam as well. Although the pattern has changed, right? So we keep saying this. A lot of people say now that the CLAT is a totally different exam. It is not true, guys. So आपका जो preparation है वो अभी भी बहुत similar है as far as your AILET and SLAT exam is concerned. So don't go by these debates going on कि नहीं अगर आपको CLAT के लिए prepare करना है, so it's a all together different scheme of things और बहुत अलग कुछ आपको prepare करना है. नहीं, वो base आपका जो है वो definitely आपको help करेगा for your other two exams as well. Okay, now let's now come to the examination format. So I was just talking about this, that how the examination format has changed, or the pattern has changed. Now, what has happened is that earlier CLAT used to be 2-hour exam, and we used to have 200 questions therein, right? So 200 questions in 120 minutes. So that was the exam pattern. Now, what has happened? We now have 2 hours. The time remains the same, but we have a number of questions has reduced from 200 to 150. But usse zyada farak nahi pada hai because the type of questions have changed, right? So earlier we used to have a lot of one-liner problems as well, but now CLAT is more comprehension based. So I will come to that later on, but abhi ke liye, I want you guys to focus on these numbers here, right? So English, when you look at in English language, there's 20% percentage weightage, right? Current affairs and legal reasoning, interestingly, they are comprising of close to 50% of the exam. Now, a lot of people come and say that, what if I do this, or I'm not very good at mathematics, can I still clear CLAT? And in fact, a lot of people who write the CLAT exam, they are not exactly math lovers, right? Unka kuch na kuch issue hai math ke saath. So that is also one reason why a lot of people from humanities background, right, they write the CLAT exam. No matter what we say, that is the reality, guys. आप कहीं भी जाएंगे, आपको सब लोग बताएंगे कि yes, math is important, math is not important. But the reality is that most of the CLAT takers are people who actually don't like mathematics that much, और वो आपको यहाँ पर जो percentage weightage है उसमें भी दिखेगा. Does that mean that math is not important? I am not at all saying that. But मैं आपको जिस side पे लेके जाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, मैं ये बताने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि these two sections, right, legal reasoning and current affairs, they comprise of 50% of the total number of questions. If you do well in these two sections, right, then we can say that you have a very good chance of clearing the CLAT exam. And one more thing here, legal reasoning also happens to be the tiebreaker section as well. So 50% of the exam, और अगर आप देखें कि comprehension based है, 50% of the exam is actually revolving around the legal current affairs, and the static legal knowledge also is little important for legal reasoning. We'll come to that abhi. But the point is that अगर आप आसपास जो आपके हो रहा है, right, if you are very well aware of what is happening around you, right, so उसके अंदर what we call legal current affairs, that's also included, or all the polity news, all the socio-economic issues going on, whatever is going on around you, if you have a good pulse, all right, आपको ये मालूम है कि whatever is going on, right, and you know all of that in detail, I think that will go a long way to help you in clearing this exam. Okay, so this is the format of the exam now. Right, 20%, 25%, 25% for legal reasoning. Logical reasoning, again, very important, 20%. And finally, we have mathematics, which is for 10%, right? 13 to 17 questions was for this year. That's another thing, right? We are not sure as of now that how many questions. So if you look at this, 35 to 39 questions, right? That's what they say. So will it be 35 or will it be 39? We don't know, right? So we have to prepare for that as well while we are preparing for our exam. We need to be very clear about the exam structure, about the exam pattern as well. Okay, so let's move on. And most important thing to remember while preparing, right? So जो आपको यहाँ पे दिख रहा है, what is it, right? What are we exactly aiming for, right? So this session, the agenda behind this session was to give you a lot of information, but at the same time, the idea was to make you think, right? Because most of the times, what are we looking at? We are looking at a lot of information, right? We are getting a lot of information, but we don't know what to do with that information. So today, I want you guys, while you are listening to me, I want you to start thinking as well about how to go about your CLAT preparation. So first is your target, right? What are we aiming for, right? For example, आपका आंसर बहुत clear हो सकता है कि sir, this is a very, very absurd question because all of us are aiming for CLAT, but that's not the correct answer, right? Maybe few of us are aiming for CLAT. Maybe few of us are only and only aiming for the top 3 colleges under CLAT. Maybe we are okay with the tier 2 or tier 3 college as well, and we have other plans for the next year, or maybe you want to write the exam again. So firstly, you have to be very clear about your target. Right? For example, when I am talking to my students, I tell them that you aim for the top 5 colleges under CLAT, right? If you start doing that, everything else becomes very easy, right? If you are doing, if you're aiming for that, then for sure, you will get at least some good college, even if you don't make it to the top 5. But our goal should be very, very clear, right? Why? Because our goal will help us to work hard. अगर हमने पहले से सोच लिया है कि कुछ भी मिल जाए इस साल, if we are okay with any of the colleges in Delhi or around the NCR, and even if that's the aim, right, then obviously we will face a lot of issues while preparing because there's no aspirational value there. है ना, हमें लग ही नहीं रहा है कि हमें कुछ करने की जरूरत है because कोई ना कोई बोल देता है कि यार इधर तो हो ही जाता है. So although we are preparing for CLAT, but we are going with the logic कि यहाँ तो मिल ही जाएगा ना. And every year you find a lot of students जिनको वो colleges भी नहीं end में मिलते हैं. So be very specific about your target, about your goal. What do you want to achieve, right? And then that will help you to have a nice timetable for yourself, right? How to go about your boards as well, how to prepare for CLAT as well. And trust me, guys, it is achievable, right? ऐसा नहीं है कि you can't get a good score in your boards and at the same time you can clear. Right? A lot of people are under this myth that this is not doable. This is perfectly doable. I will tell you how it is to be done, right? हम आज ये बात करेंगे कि आपको कैसे करना है, and it will make more sense if you start thinking as well कि आप कैसे ये कर सकते हैं, right? So what all is required? First thing is reading, right? It is of utmost importance, right? A lot of people have been telling me, asking us that my boards are right here. I don't have the time to prepare for CLAT. What should I do? My answer is very simple. Whatever you are doing, you have to keep reading. Even if you are going through your board exams or like your CBSE textbooks, right? Try and see how well you are reading, right? What is your reading speed? क्या आप जब आपने, for example, if you have history as a subject, right? If you are going through your history chapter or you're going through your geography notes, right? Try and make it a point that you are focusing on your reading speed. You can still be preparing for your board exams, but at the same time, this will help you with your CLAT preparation as well, right? So focus on your reading. Whatever you are reading, always keep an eye on your watch that whether I'm improving my reading speed every day or not. Or maybe you will also realize, शायद आपको ये भी निकल कर आए that you are more apt at reading passages from history rather than reading passages from, say, which has something to do with economics, right? So these things also you have to start appreciating, right? You have to understand that, maybe geography I can read really well, but if there is a problem on, say, social issues, right? I really don't like reading that. So that's what you have to note down in your book as well, that I need to read more on specific topics because I'm not good at them, right? Or I get bored easily, or there could be various reasons for that. So that is the first part, guys. Ki read. Reading is lifeblood of every student, law student, and lawyer. And that is also one of the major reasons why changes were brought to the CLAT pattern. Why? Because the CLAT authorities, the CLAT body wants people or wants these students to have excellent reading speed. That is the reason there is so much focus on your reading speed, right? Another thing which you have to understand before preparing for any exam is that what is expected of you. If you sit down and ask yourself कि मेरे को ये exam देना है, I want to appear for this exam, but what is expected of me, right? For example, if you're writing the IIT JEE exam, what is expected of you? If you're writing, say, a hotel management exam, what are the skills essentially they are looking for? So this is the question you have to answer, that what are they looking for? And the answer is very clear, right? If you look at this new pattern, the answer is very clear that what is expected of you, that you have an excellent reading speed. Most of the question will be based on comprehension. So start reading newspapers, books, articles. Whenever you get time, you should have, a book always with you, right? Which you can finish off in, say, 1 week's time or 2 weeks' time. I really don't know, right, how much time you can manage, but जो भी आपके पास time है, you should devote that time to reading, right? That will really help you to get back to that frame of mind where you are preparing for your entrance exam, right? और वो भी बहुत important है, guys, that you are in the right frame of mind. आपको पता है at least कि what are you doing? Because a lot of students, when they come, they say that everything else is fine, but we are lost. That's the word they use, that we are lost, we don't know what to do. So if you are doing something, some bits every day, at least that will keep you in the right frame of mind, and that you can do very well through reading. Okay. And last point, that is again very important point. Pick your sources and stick to them. Don't do this that someday you were reading one newspaper, then someone else came and offered you their advice. right, which you had never asked for in the first place, but you were told ki, what are you reading, right? Ye wala acha nahi hai, ye wala acha hai. Then 2 weeks later, someone else came and told you about some magazine or some online source jahan pe bahut sara information hai. You don't have to do all of that. Again, there will be a lot of confusion in your head. What you have to do is you pick your sources, do your research first hand. आप पहले अपनी research कीजिए, right? Look for your sources, and once you have finalized your sources, stick to them, right? That is really helpful in the long run. Time management. So first was reading speed and time management. अगर हम दोनों को समझें, right? And I will not give you a lot of ज्ञान on time management because आपने बहुत कुछ सुना है, but I want you to think about this, right? What exactly we mean by time management, right? So that is, a test of time management more actually, less of knowledge, but more of time management. Why? Because invariably you will hear people saying that I knew this question, but I couldn't attempt it. Now, time management is not just about attempting the right questions. It is also about identifying the right questions. Time management is also about not feeling the pressure, the exam pressure, right? Time management is also about, like that, for example, a lot of students, what happens is, जो आपका last section होता है of the exam, right? You are not scoring well in that. Why? Because of pressure, because of the exam pressure. And what we end up doing, we are solving our weakest section in the last few minutes. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense because you are already under a lot of pressure and you are trying to attempt that particular section which you find the hardest. Will you get score in that section? The answer is a big no. This is also time management, right? That how much time you want to leave for your toughest section, how much time you want to leave to revise whatever you have done in the exam, right? So that is also part of time management. Time management, people keep on saying, do it, do it, do it. But you have to first think about it. That what will you get out of this time management thing, right? And as I was sharing with you, कि आपको बहुत सारी चीजों का आंसर मिलना शुरू हो जाएगा कि मेरे को अपना toughest section, where should I attempt my toughest section? If not last, then where? That's also part of time management. It is not just how quickly you are reading, right? It is also about how much you can leave, right? What questions to leave in the first go, right? अगर आपको कोई सवाल मुश्किल लगता है, can I leave it for the time being? The answer is yes. But you will only be able to do that. You will only be able to do a good identification if you are sure of your time skills, right? Your time management. आपको पता है कि this much time I have for this particular section, and after this I have to move ahead. Now, trust me, most of the kids who are writing the mocks and who are preparing for CLAT, they actually face a lot of issues with this, the time management part. How much time is to be given to one section, right? Or do we need to have clear demarcation कि मैं legal aptitude सिर्फ 25 minutes ही दूंगा और मैं mathematics को सिर्फ और सिर्फ 15 minute दूंगा? क्या ऐसा हो सकता है? Yes, just depends on your style, but that style you have to evolve, and that you can do by practicing more. Okay, so you have to maximize the opportunities to answer the questions. And if you're not fast enough, your problem solving skills are pointless. As I was saying, I knew the answer to this question, but I could not mark, right? So that will not serve the purpose. We have to time ourselves, and we have to get a good score, right? और वो तभी होगा जब हमें ये पता है कि किस टाइम पे या कितने टाइम में हम क्या बेस्ट आउटपुट निकाल सकते हैं, right? So that is time management, and I hope you will think more on these lines. Next, immediately इसके बाद क्या आता है, guys? When we talk about time management, then we also I just talked about this, that what is your weak link, right? Which is the hardest section for you to attempt? If you're sure about that, then it is easier to manage your time, right? And you will automatically see that your scores also start improving, because while attempting the mock, you had this gut feeling that I should not be attempting this passage, right? वो passage अगर आप attempt नहीं करते और वो कहाँ से आपको पता लगेगा that you have identified your weaknesses. As I was saying, right? Some passage with the economy background, right? Economics background का कोई passage आता है, and I am clear that I am not good at it. Can I leave the passage? Answer is a big yes, right? So if I know my strengths and weaknesses beforehand, that is very, very critical for these entrance exams, right? So plan to your strengths, and जो आपका strength है, make it even stronger, right? So if you are scoring, for example, logical reasoning is someone's favorite section, and they are scoring, say, a score of 22 out of 25. But if that is your strongest section, you should not be scoring 22 out of 35. You should try and take up your score to 28, right? So you have to work on your strengths first and make it even stronger. आपको ये होना चाहिए कि this is my section, and if I am not scoring well in this section, then you should have the confidence that all others are going to be the same because this section is my area, right? ये मेरा section है. So you should have that confidence that अगर मेरा score नहीं आएगा, others will also not be scoring well in this section. That means that this year that section was a big surprise, which is again a possibility. We never know what kind of questions will be there in our CLAT exam, right? So that confidence you need to have with respect to your strong section. वो confidence आपके अंदर होना चाहिए है. And on the same time, right, the same time, you should start working on your weaknesses gradually, right? For example, logical reasoning is my favorite section. So I should aim for a score of 28 in that. But at the same time, I don't like maths, right? But at the same time, I will make an effort to start with 3 or 4 topics maybe, right? 3 या 4 topics से मैं शुरू करूँगा, but I will start working on my weaknesses as well, right? For example, if I have to give you an example here, right? Take Mr. Kohli's example, Virat Kohli's example, right? You remember that one series in England where he was playing outside the off stump and he kept on getting out. He came back and he worked on his technique and he started leaving the balls outside the off stump. But what was he essentially trying to do? He was working on his weakness, but at the same time, he was playing very fluently on the leg side, which was his strong area. So वो strong area ko, he was making a point that I will not get out on this particular ball, which is outside the off stump. I know a lot of you may not like watching cricket or you don't follow cricket, but this example I was trying to give you to make you understand that what do you mean by start working on your weakness? That this weakness, right? वो इतनी बड़ी weakness नहीं होनी चाहिए कि वो पूरे के पूरे exam को खराब कर दे, right? So at one ball जो मैं आपको समझा रहा हूँ कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि your innings is over because of that one weakness, right? So वो weakness पे हमको काम करना है. For example, it's a possibility that this year math section, which happens to be my least favorite section, that is the easiest section. But मैं पहले से सोच कर आया हुआ था कि I will not attempt even one question. And my strongest section, which was the logical reasoning section, was a big surprise because that was the toughest section this year. So I'm losing on both sides, right? I'm not scoring well in my stronger section as well. And at the same time, my weakness, I'm getting a 0 out of 10, right? So that should not happen. You should start working on your weaknesses gradually. And at the end, right, it is about scoring as many marks possible. And it is not about attempting more questions. Now, this again, we can go back to time management, we can go back to reading speed, but all of this is interconnected, guys. Ki humko, we have to score well rather than attempt more questions. So आपका focus attempt से ज़्यादा इस पे होना चाहिए that how can you get a score of 100 plus in your mocks or in the final exam? If you can short that, right, then कितना आपने attempt किया, that really would not matter, right? तो हो सकता है आपका 150 attempt में भी 100 का score हो और आपका हो सकता है 120 के attempt में भी 100 का score हो, right? So it really doesn't matter कि आपने कितना ज़्यादा attempt किया as long as you're very sure about what you are attempting. Okay, mock test. Now, I keep saying this, right? The best way to prepare, the best way to revise, the best way to increase your reading speed, the best way to learn management, time management skills, everything, how you make it best is by practice, right? So, and that is also one reason this phrase is, used so many times, that practice makes you perfect, or practice makes it perfect, right? So there was this new research also, I'm forgetting the name of the book, जहाँ पर author ने लिखा कि if you do these many number of hours, right, practice anything for these many number of hours, then you will obviously, the word was that you will obviously get better at it. There is no way that you can't learn that art or you will not get better. So there's a time frame he's putting it to it, right? And he's saying if you keep doing this thing, right, if you make it your habit means you're practicing it again and again, you will achieve that goal, right? So that is why practice is so important. Mock tests, how many mock tests? Maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. Or if you are feeling very confident, why not even 3 week or 3 mocks a week, right? So it all depends on like how you go about these mocks. Okay. Okay. So next is it will also allow you to enhance and fine tune all the skills, whatever we were talking about. We were talking about the reading speed part, we were talking about the time management skills, right? So it will also, like as I was saying, it will help you there. And the more mocks you have, right, better will be your एग्जाम डे, राइट, द फाइनल डे, जिसके लिए हम सब कुछ प्रिपेयर कर रहे होते हैं. सो जितना आपका एक्सपीरियंस मॉक्स के साथ, जितना आप टाइम बोलते हैं ना कि जितना आप टाइम वहां पर लगाएंगे, हाउ मच यू विल स्वेट देयर, राइट, उतना ही कम आपको स्वेट करना पड़ेगा ड्यूरिंग द फाइनल डे. एंड अगेन आई मीन द एग्जाम प्रेशर, अगेन आप इतने सारे मॉक्स दे चुके होते हैं, देन you start, obviously you will have few like butterflies in the stomach, right? I'm not saying that it's the same. Obviously, exam day is different. But because you have gone through the same thing again and again, because you've practiced so much, you will have a lot more confidence of facing the exam head on, right? वो confidence बहुत जरूरी होता है ऐसे exams में, right? जहाँ पर I keep saying this, right? So I'll keep repeating this again and again, that how important is your confidence, right? So confidence, and that's the reason I was saying that you have to think while attending this session as well. Okay, so spend more time with your mocks. How do you spend more time with your mocks? You just don't look at the mocks, right? After you have attempted the mock, try and analyze the mocks and analyze. For example, कि मेरे strong section में भी I am committing the same mistake again and again. How can I get another 3 marks in my in this particular section? So all these is actually a part of your analysis, and that's what we are saying, that you have to like spend more time with your mocks, right? Okay. Now next is clear your doubts. Now, during the course of your preparation, right, it is inevitable that you will run into many doubts. And what is most important, that you clear these doubts as soon as possible, right? So don't wait or don't sit over your doubts. बोलते हैं ना कि don't wait for it, right? There's a concept even under law, right? Limitation period. So a lot of you who are already preparing, right, they must be knowing what limitation period is. So what we say, that don't wait for things to happen. If you have a doubt, try and clear those doubts. Try and clear that doubt ASAP, right? Because it is undesirable. What is undesirable? That after a month you have this register, right, this notebook of yours where you have just written your doubts, and you have at least 100, 200 doubts. You will also face a lot of problems now that you have, like accumulated this doubt list, and whosoever is trying to help you out also, right, it will be a big problem for them also, right? And एक और पॉइंट यहाँ पे जो आता है कि हो सकता है कि जो आपने डाउट्स इतने सारे लिखे हुए हैं, अगर आपने उनमें से जो डाउट्स थे अगर आपने पहले क्लियर कर लिए होते तो शायद वो जो रजिस्टर का जो नोटबुक का जो साइज है वो शायद उसका आधा भी नहीं होता, राइट? बिकॉज एक डाउट जो आपने पहले क्लियर कर लिया, शायद उसकी वजह से अगला डाउट जो अदरवाइज हुआ वो कभी आता ही नहीं आपको, राइट? सो दैट्स आल्सो समथिंग यू हैव टू थिंक, right? Especially when you are solving logical reasoning and legal reasoning problems, right? ये issues बहुत सारे आते हैं कि one principle or one concept is there or related to 5 or 10 other concepts as well. So that is very, very important that you understand that thing. कि एक doubt जो है, that may lead to 100 more doubts later on. So why not get those doubts resolved at once? Revision, keep revising whatever you are doing, right? Because we are learning new concepts. There will be a lot of new terms, so you have to keep revising. Again, if you go by my advice, the best way to revise is again mocks. I mean, whatever you have done, वो आपको वापस से मिल जाएगा when you are attempting a mock. So in a way, you are revising all the concepts as well. But yeah, if you don't want to do that, you want to revise separately as well, तो वो भी आप कर सकते हैं. How do you do that? By going through your notes, जो भी आपने notes बनाए हैं, and also go through the material which has been provided to you, right? जो भी आपको material provide किया जाता है, उसको अच्छे से पढ़िए, उसको समझिए. Even if the classes have not happened on that particular topic, right? Even if that's the case, if the classes have not happened on that particular topic, still, why can't we just go and read those topics beforehand? What will that do? That will help you to, help you to understand the concept better, right? जो आप class attend करने वाले हैं, maybe I know, right? जो आप खुद से पढ़ेंगे concept, that won't be 100% clear to you. But it will obviously help you. Why? Because your reading speed again is improving, and जो आप concepts बाद में पढ़ने वाले हैं, वहाँ पर भी आपको काफी help मिलेगा इन सब चीजों का, right? Now let's talk about the sections specifically now, or as I was telling you, right? कि आपको ये भी बताऊंगा कि कैसे आप sections को deal करेंगे, how to prepare, how to go about all the sections. The first is the English section. Now, why I'm starting with English? Because the CLAT exam also starts with this section. पहला section ही English usually दिया जाता है, unless there is some change this year. Secondly, very interestingly, what is there that most of us believe English section to be easy, right? You will not find too many people sweating about the English section or thinking too much about the English section, right? Because उनको लगता है सिर्फ comprehension ही तो है. But mind you, this comprehension will take a lot of your time solving in the exam, right? तो आप जब exam में solve करते हैं इसको, right? So that will take a lot of your time. तो इसीलिए आपको उसको plan करना है अच्छे से, and obviously, right? Reading की हम बात कर चुके हैं. Now, how do you prepare for this? When you are reading an article from the newspaper, just don't read the article. Also try to understand what is the main point of the passage. For example, if there is an article on farm bills, right? You may be reading 3 or 4 articles nowadays on farm bills, right? Every author will have their own opinion, right? So while you are reading, just don't try to get the information out of the passage. Also try and answer a few questions, right? That what is the main point of the passage, right? What is the author's argument? If you have read anything before, right, can you have a counter argument to what the author is saying? And if you can write it down somewhere, it will be actually a very good exercise for you, right? Figure of speech, idioms, phrases. If the author has used any maxims, right? Do we know these maxims, right? So in a nutshell, just don't read the newspaper. Just don't read the editorial page. Try and think more with the editorial page, right? And that is a ready-made comprehension passage for you. It's a ready-made practice for you, right? You don't have to do anything. Just think of counter arguments, right? So if the author is trying to say farm bills are bad, you think of arguments that why whatever he's saying, what is bad with that, or what is wrong with the argument, right? So you just try to have counter arguments for everything, irrespective of how you feel about them, right? So your bias should not be there, right? बहुत हमारा अपना bias भी होता है, right? How we feel about it. Focus on 5 W's. Very important. Who, what, why, when, where. Passage पढ़ते हुए, who is saying what and why is the author trying to say it, right? Why is the author trying to say something about the farm bills, right? And at the same time, some other author has tried to tell us that how farm bills maybe didn't work in the US or in the European countries. So that's the argument here, that we should know both the sides, right? We should be able to balance out our arguments. Why? Because this will really help you in your reading comprehension part, because you have started thinking about the passages as well. So it is not important how many passages you are reading in a week. It is more important that how well you have read those passages. So number is important here, guys. I hope I'm making it very clear here. What to read: newspaper editorials, magazines, online articles, whatever you can get your hands on, right? For example, there are websites like Bar and Bench, Legally India, or your material, which will have a lot of passages for you, right? So all is there. How to make this man proud, right? This is the most important thing, because we just keep on reading. A lot of people say, "Ki sir, मैं बहुत पढ़ रहा हूँ, but it is not reflecting in my score." Obviously, it is not a 2-day thing. It is not like your board exam that you do this and obviously it will just reflect in your next mock. ऐसा नहीं होगा. It will take time. So you just can't do that 2 weeks before the exam. You have to keep working on it. Okay. And I've already said this. Don't rush into answering a question. Read the passage well and then try and answer. Because a lot of times what we do is we don't read the passage carefully. We just try and rush to the question part, right? It will only make sense when we are short of time. Otherwise, the right way to go about it is that you first understand the passage and then you move to the questions part of it, right? So that is very important here. Regular group discussions obviously will help you, right? Because that's an innovative way of engaging and learning. Like your language skills improve, and you can also learn new words as well. Okay. General awareness. Now this is a very tricky section again. Considered by many to be easy and scoring. बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि general awareness सिंपल सा होगा, बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि बहुत मुश्किल होगा, राइट? एंड द करेक्ट आंसर, इसका सही आंसर कहीं बीच में ही जनरल अवेयरनेस का सेक्शन रहता है. इफ यू लुक एट द पास्ट ईयर पेपर्स एज वेल, तो एक स्कोर निकल कर आता है व्हिच इज क्लोज टू लाइक आई थिंक 40 to 50% of this, like what you are getting. So for example, if it is a 35 marks section, right? So if you're scoring anywhere around 20 to 22, right, that's a decent score. That's actually very good score, right? So 50 के आसपास 50% के अगर आप score ले आते हैं, तो that's a good score, right? As far as the GA section is concerned, because usually काफी मुश्किल आता है ये CLAT और AILET के एग्जाम में. So there are two parts to it: static and current affairs. And you have to constantly work on this subject, right? Previous year papers will help you a lot. But here, what is important? Let me now give you the interesting bit of it, right? You need to be consistent here, guys. That's the most important thing, right? You need to be consistent. Don't try and, for example, a lot of people ask this thing, कि sir, क्या हम आखिरी के 15 दिन में can we just do current affairs? I have kept all the notes ready. मैंने सब notes बना रखे हैं current affairs के. I have all the material available also, and I'll just go through that in the end. That's a really like not a good way of preparing the GK section, right? So you need to be consistent. So all I'm trying to say is that 1 hour every day is better than you doing it for 8 hours after the end of 2 weeks, or after the end of 1 month. आपने एक दिन सोचा कि आज मैं सिर्फ और सिर्फ static या current affairs करने वाला हूँ. So you need to be more consistent, and I've just talked about this earlier. Find good sources and stick to them. Stick to the good sources. For example, whatever newspaper you are reading, we generally recommend the Hindu or the Indian Express, right? You don't have to read 3 or 4 newspapers. A lot of people actually do that, right? They are trying to read 3 or 4 newspapers. They are trying to go through a lot of material online. No, just stick to the good sources you have already researched, right? जो भी आपने research किया है, उन topics को आप उन sources को देखिए और उनमें ही अपना ज़्यादा time लगाएं. Now coming on to the legal aptitude part, which happens to be my favorite section. मैं logical reasoning के बारे में बहुत देर से बात कर रहा था, but logical reasoning is not my favorite section. My favorite, and I teach legal aptitude, so this is my favorite. Now legal aptitude section is very interesting. CLAT में बहुत interesting हो गया है legal aptitude section. Why? Because it's a mixture of legal plus general awareness plus logical reasoning. Right? It is actually an amalgamation of all these three, right? अगर आप legal principles अच्छे से पढ़ रहे हैं, but you're not aware of what is happening in the courts, तो problem आएगा. अगर आप principles अच्छे से पढ़ पा रहे हैं, legal principles, you understand legal principles well, but you don't know which one to use, right? For example, there are 4 principles, right? And the facts are talking about something very specific. Right? So how do you eliminate the other 2 principles which are not relevant? So logic वहाँ पर बहुत जरूरी होता है that you eliminate the 2 principles which are not relevant for a particular problem. Right? So it's a mixture of legal aptitude, general awareness, and logic. Logic is everywhere, guys. Logic is everywhere. So focus on articles and passages from newspapers. Again, I will not repeat this because again it is endless. कितना आप अखबार पढ़ते हैं, newspaper reading करते हैं, that is of utmost importance. Because why? Because वहाँ पे आपको legal news भी मिल रहा है, GA तो है ही है, and because you are thinking a lot about strong arguments, weak arguments, right? Authors' main argument. So there is logic also involved there, right? And get used to the legal language. That is very important, right? Because you will realize while solving your mocks as well, the problem is not with the legal principle. The problem is with the language the legal principle is using. And a lot of students who have problems with legal reasoning, वो सिर्फ उनका problem क्या होता है कि can you please explain this legal principle to us? And everything else is very clear to them. They are clear about the facts, the 4 options they are very clear about, but they just have one issue. They have to ask someone, can you please explain this legal principle to us? What is it? Because of the legal language. So get used to it. There is no other way about it, right? The more you are reading about what the Supreme Court has said in a particular case, right? The more you read such topics, better you will get with legal language, right? Recently, there was this case going on, right, on the Me Too movement, right? Sexual harassment case, right? And there were few terms used there, right? So if you are reading the passage or the editorial on that news, or आपने अगर वो information पढ़ा है, then you will get used to the legal language, right? What do you mean by ex party, right? Or what do you mean by suo moto action, right? Or ये आप रोज अगर आप if you're reading the newspaper every day, you will find these words some way or the other, right? So we just have to get used to the legal language so that we take less time to comprehend what the legal principle is saying. Think like a lawyer, right? So don't just read stuff. Think like a lawyer, right? For example, I was giving you the example of sexual harassment case, right? What would you do differently? आप अलग क्या कर सकते थे ऐसे केस में? Or what do you think of the order of the court, right? ऐसा नहीं है that we can't appreciate, or why can't we just criticize in our head? Why can't we criticize what the court is saying? We can actually do that, right? And that is how we start thinking like a lawyer, that we have our own set of thoughts, our own set of arguments, and we are constantly thinking on those lines. How will this help you, right? You start thinking like a lawyer. You are more, even more inspired now to clear CLAT, to get it to a good law school and make a name for yourself in the arena of law, right? It will just motivate you even more to do well, to put in the hard work, right? So that is also very, very important here. Okay. Understanding the concept. अब exam perspective से क्या help होगा यहाँ पे? If you are doing that, if you are thinking like a lawyer, then you may actually be able to solve the passage without going through the passage entirely, right? आपको because आपको concept पता है पहले से, right? You may just go to the questions and start answering them. Although this should not be your primary approach, you should always try and read the passage. But in case there's shortage of time, and for example, you read something on defamation, right? And you know as a concept, right, what defamation is, then you may not need the full passage on that, which is there to explain what defamation is, right? We can save a lot of our time by directly going to the questions, right, and answering them. So if you start doing that, if you start thinking like a lawyer, right, it will save a lot of our time during our exam as well. And you can benefit from a general awareness of contemporary and model issues. So guys, I am not able to take a lot of your queries, right? So what I'll do is I will take the queries in just few minutes time after I'm done. Okay, so there are a lot of queries now, which I think my team is already trying to solve your queries. Akbar Ramani, right? How much score? Suryansh, so all these questions, again, I will ask you to pose these questions again, ताकि मैं इनके साथ deal करूं at the end of my presentation. Okay? ठीक है जी? Is it late to start now? So this one question. So I was saying, thinking like a lawyer. और किसी ने सवाल पूछा है, is it late to start now? No, it is not late to start. Right? We have enough time, right? And whatever I'm telling you through this presentation, right? अगर हम उसके बारे में, if we can start working on that, right? I don't think we don't have much time. In fact, this year we have a lot more time, right? Because the exam is in the month of June. You can always say, sir, boards bhi hain, ye bhi hain, wo bhi hain, but we still have time, right? So we really can't say that we don't have time for this now. Okay, so now next is logical reasoning. We are going section wise, guys, and let me just look at few questions as well, and I'll ask my team to send me the questions separately, right? So guys, from the team, right, whosoever is watching, right, I would request you to send the few of the questions separately as well, because I'm not able to get all the questions together. So next is logical reasoning. Now, logical reasoning, again, very interesting. A lot of people are actually scared of logical reasoning. उनको लगता है यार कि ये नहीं हो पाएगा हमसे. We can manage all the other sections, but we can't manage logical reasoning. Actually, that's a very, very wrong approach. Why? Because आपको हर साल, right, every year you find questions, right, which are actually pretty easy. Right? So अगर हम उन पे focus कर पाते हैं, right, if we can focus on the easier questions, right, then logical reasoning will start. At least आपको feel आएगा कि ये it is doable. The first thing to feel is that it is doable. Don't feel that I can't do this particular section. So that's the first important thing you have to learn, that it is doable, right? So there are two parts to it. I will quickly go through it. A lot of you who are still planning to prepare for CLAT, I think it will be useful for them. हाँ, जो लोग बहुत पहले से तैयारी कर रहे हैं, उनको I think इतना issue नहीं आएगा. Madhav is asking, sir, editorial page of which newspaper? Madhav, again, Financial Express will not work for CLAT. Financial Express से ज़्यादा better होगा that you go or read the Hindu or the Indian Express, right? Financial Express में थोड़ा सा अलग जो information थोड़ा अलग style से आता है, right? So it will be better if you use the Hindu or the Indian Express. Okay. Yeah, so I will be taking a lot of these questions, guys. So don't worry about that, right? I know a lot of you have a lot of queries, a lot of questions for me. So I will be dealing with all your questions in a while. So coming back to logical reasoning, again, there is critical reasoning and there is analytical reasoning. Those parts हैं logical reasoning में. Although of late we have noticed a trend that there are more critical reasoning questions there. तो ज़्यादा critical reasoning आ रहा है, but yeah, it can change this year, right? So हो सकता है कि because I'm saying it or someone else is emphasizing on the fact that logical reasoning is all about critical reasoning, तो that हो सकता है कि इस साल अच्छा सा आपको सरप्राइज देना चाहे और there are more analytical questions. So don't go by that कि अभी तक क्या हुआ. We have to prepare for logical reasoning section. So this includes coding, decoding, right? All these are there. How should you go about it, right? You should try and solve 100 questions on every topic. That should be your first aim. Before you start attempting your mocks, or अगर आपने 3 topics भी किए हैं, then also you can start attempting the mocks. No issue, right? No issues, because what you will do then, you will have to identify your areas, right? Your core subject areas. For example, आपने अगर 3 topics किए logical reasoning में, and you are attempting the mock, तो आपको क्या करना है? आपकी logical reasoning section में जाकर you have to identify कि जो मैंने 3 topics किए हैं उनमें से कौन से questions आए हुए हैं, and I will attempt those questions first. So it's actually a very good exercise for what to attempt and what not to attempt. So don't wait for everything, for the syllabus to be over and then I will start giving the mocks. वो दिन दोस्तों कभी नहीं आता है कि जब हम सब syllabus पूरा खत्म कर लेंगे और हम फिर सोचते हैं कि हम mocks देने बैठेंगे. वो दिन ही नहीं आ पाता है. बहुत लोगों को टाइम ही नहीं मिल पाता है फिर. So don't go by that as well. Okay. So what is logical reasoning? मैं आपको बताता था कि legal aptitude में भी logic आ जाता है. So once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, right, must be the truth, right? So ये logic के साथ आप बहुत सारी चीजें और भी सीखते हैं. So तो आपको अलग अलग स्टाइल के क्वेश्चंस आते हैं and most of the questions are actually inference based. So try and solve as many questions on these topics as possible. Inference based questions आप ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा solve करने की कोशिश कीजिए. Strengthening or weakening the argument. I was just talking about this, right? I talked about this under the GK section as well. कि general awareness में भी when you are reading the editorials, make a point, right, to think of the main arguments and how can you weaken the author's argument, how can you make another argument which is going with what the author is saying, right? So if you're doing it every day, then if you are getting questions on such topics, I think you will not feel कि ये नहीं हो सकता, that it is not doable. वो feeling नहीं आएगी. And that's the first important thing, right? That we have to feel that it is doable. Try and solve GMAT level questions, right? Now that's very, very important, right? Because this year there was a particular passage, right? A set of questions which was taken from the GMAT material, right? So वो GMAT से पूरा same. Now, importantly, don't solve GMAT level questions because वहां से questions आते हैं, है ना? बहुत बार ये भी हो जाता है कि I will try and solve GMAT questions. Why? Because वहीं से पूछा जाता है. Yeah, we may get lucky, right? We may get lucky, but the idea should be to solve, to practice more, right? If we are practicing more, और अगर कुछ same question आ जाता है, right? What do you call it? सोने पे सुहागा, है ना? तो ऐसा वाला होना चाहिए, guys. But don't expect कि मैंने ये भी किया. For example, GS में भी ये बहुत होगा, right? Logical में भी बहुत होगा. That someone will come and say that if you solve at previous year paper, which are for MBA, right? तो अगर आप MBA वाले पेपर सॉल्व करोगे ना, तो उसमें से बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस आपको पैट में मिल जाएंगे, पेपर में मिल जाएंगे. अब वो एक साल हुआ, इस साल होगा, we really don't know, right? Similarly, try and solve GMAT level questions. Previously जब CLAT ने पूछी हैं GMAT level questions, answer is yes. इस बार हो सकता है we don't know, but we need to practice more and without going into this part, right? That same questions we might get. And finally, you know, while, as I've been saying this, while reading editorials, right, try to identify the statements, arguments, assumptions, and try to think of ways to challenge, support or change authors' view. I just said this, right? कि आप खुद से सोचिए कि क्या आपके पास कोई ऐसा argument है which will strengthen the author's argument which you are reading in the paper, and you should give a pat to yourself, right, on your back कि आपने इंडियन एक्सप्रेस का आर्टिकल पढ़ते हुए या द हिंदू का आर्टिकल पढ़ते हुए ऑथर को एक एडिशनल पॉइंट बताया है कि भैया ये भी लिख सकते थे आप. This could have, made more sense if you would have included my argument in your passage. What a feeling that would be. क्या feeling होगा ना ये कि आप सोच रहे हो कि मैंने बताया है ये passage में ये point भी हो सकता है जो कि author ने miss कर दिया है. Right? So, and that's the reason I'm saying that you can give a pat on your back as well. Okay? So this is important. And finally, we come to the numerical ability section. I'm going a little fast now. Why? Because I want to take all of your queries, right? I want to take all your queries. So, फटाफट से मैं numerical ability के बारे में बात करूँगा, numerical ability, and then we will talk about your questions, right? आपकी जो queries हैं, उसके बारे में बात करेंगे. So, I said 10%, right? So that means 10 to 15 questions in the paper. Best part is what? It is 10th standard mathematics, right? So 10th ka standard hai. It is not as if you will be asked really tough questions, and most of the questions are on statistics and data. तो इसके ऊपर अगर आप ज़्यादा focus करें तो वो ज़्यादा अच्छा है. Then what you have to do? You just have to practice. Even if you're scared of this section, and I know a lot of you are. I really know this, right? And in fact, a lot of people who are studying law at the top national universities, right? They will also share the same feeling that they were not really fan of mathematics, but they still, tried. They still practiced, and they were able to clear the exam. So usually ये section ज़्यादा मुश्किल भी नहीं आता है, guys. So that's also something which you should keep in mind, right? That usually this is not a very difficult section to crack. तो ज़्यादा हो क्या रहा है कि we have already made up our mind that we can't do this section well, right? But if you practice well, I think this section, और मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि math section usually is the game changer nowadays, right? Together with the legal aptitude section, right? जिसके अंदर because you get a lot of questions on that, right? And it's a mixture of GA and legal aptitude and logic. So most of us are scoring similar scores. End में क्या हो रहा है कि it is more about the math section now. कि math में आपने कितना अच्छा किया, because someone who has made up his mind to leave the section, and there is someone who is saying, okay, I really don't like math, but I will still give it a shot, right? So that's the most important thing, that don't take this section for granted, right? And it can give you a few easy marks, right? For example, अगर 15 सवाल आते हैं तो usually ये देखा गया कि you can easily score or get a score of 5 to 6. That's not at all difficult. But what is difficult? To come out of that zone, to come out that feeling that I can't do mathematics at all. I think वो वाली जो feeling है वो ज़्यादा problematic हो जाती है. Okay. Okay, so Madhav has asked me, sir, does leftist or rightist nature of newspaper matter? So, Madhav, I don't think that really matters, right? Because, again, I mean, we have to get a lot of information. So, वो leftist view है, and maybe that's a very good exercise for you, right? That while reading the newspaper, you have to now think of this, that whether this particular author, right? Newspaper हमें पता हो सकता है, right? But we really are not sure about the author, right? Who is writing that particular message. तो आपको ये analyze करना कि whether someone is a leftist or a rightist. For example, I'll show you one interesting bit here, right? So I was talking to one of my students who is in 5th year at Nalsar, Hyderabad, and he told me about an author. Right, and I have read that author, but he told me that he is a leftist guy, right? And I have read a lot of his works, and I wasn't sure about that. So this guy who has not read a lot of his works, he has already made up his mind that he is a leftist, right? And when we Googled it, it said that he was very neutral, right? So I think nowadays people are more worried about who is on which side, but I think we have to focus more on the content, right? अगर आप वो करेंगे, content पे ज़्यादा focus करेंगे, Madhav, तो I don't think it should really bother you much whether the person is from the left side or the right side. Okay, so all the best, right? So that's the final slide, right, of this. So guys, now I would wait for you guys, right? Now I would ask you to start sharing your queries, your questions. And in the meantime, if you haven't shared our or you haven't liked our page, please do that. And if you like this video, please do share it with other friends, right, who are preparing for CLAT. It maybe could be helpful for them as well, right? So Ansh is saying, so ma'am told there will be 15 questions of maths. Ansh, so that will keep changing, right? So what they have said is that there will be 10 to 15 questions. There is no clear-cut, number there. कोई clear-cut number नहीं है. So last year, yeah, we are again expecting that, right? That this should be, but it could be 10 as well, right? There are always surprises, and we should be ready for these surprises. Ansh, तो अगर आप अगर हम उस तरीके से सोचेंगे, I think वो ज़्यादा helpful रहेगा, that we are clear about that. Ekansh is saying, thank you, sir. Awesome session. Thank you, Ekansh, for the nice words. Right, guys. So now it is an open forum for you guys. Now I will be looking at your queries as well. I just wanted to talk about what I had thought first. जो मैं सोच कर आया था, मुझे लगा मैं पहले उसके बारे में बात करूंगा. And now I will start taking your questions. How many questions we should solve a day? Prerna will depend. As I said, you have to start thinking on these lines now, that what is your strong area, right? But अगर आप अपने weak areas की बात कर रहे हैं, तो आपको, as I was saying, right, हर topic के ऊपर I think you should try and solve 100 questions. अब वो आप daily कर पाते हैं कि नहीं, that's on you, right? But yeah, I think that should be a good number. 100 questions you should try and solve, or even better, try and solve few questions every day and then give a mock, just to analyze, right, how well you are learning. Okay. Okay, so any more questions here? So, Sarthak is asking, is it compulsory to answer every question? Sarthak, no, not at all, not at all. As I was saying, Sarthak, identification is actually very, very important. Identification बहुत important चीज है यहाँ पर, और वो क्यों important है? Because उससे हम ये देखते हैं कि, for example, accuracy is one part, time management is the other part. Right? कि आप कितने टाइम में उसको अटेम्प्ट कर पाएंगे. For example, there could be something which you can attempt well, but you also know that you usually take a lot of time to attempt such questions. Right? So उसके अंदर दोनों चीजें आपको देखना होगा कि आप कौन सा क्वेश्चन किस टाइम पे सॉल्व कर सकते हैं. Okay. Now Kunal is asking, sir, will Pratham conduct offline mocks as well? Kunal, definitely, right? We will try to do that, right? In case there are more relaxations in the rules, right? So we will also try and do offline mocks for sure. Sir, if Nikita is asking, sir, if the score in first mock is 55 and 71%, then is it a good start? Nikita, yes, I would say that's a good start, right? If you're scoring 55 in your first mock, right? That's a good start. And you just have to now practice more. That means give more mocks and analyze your mocks better, Nikita. And we also have this mentorship program at Pratham, right, where you can sit with your mentor, right, and then ask them, right, what approach should you take, which section to attempt first, which section you should attempt last. So there are like a lot of things you can, like, actually discuss with your mentor who happens to be from one of the top NLUs himself, herself, right? So they should be able to help you better. Sir, I just joined the CLAT coaching. When should I take mock exam? Tanishka, I would say ASAP, right? That's my personal belief, right? I totally believe in that you should not wait for the syllabus to get over. If you give first mock now, whatever I was saying during the presentation, right, it will make more sense to you, right? आपको ये बहुत और इसमें जो है चीजें समझ में आएंगी कि क्या आप अलग से कर सकते हैं. So that's what we have to understand here. Madhav is asking, our boards end on 1st June and exam is on 11. What should we do in 10 days time? Madhav, there's a lot of time for that. Abhito, I think first we should worry about our preparation right now. But to answer your question, I think mocks. My answer would be mocks because revision would be a part of that. If you are giving mocks, you are anyways revising a lot of stuff because you will be analyzing your mocks as well. तो आप जब एनालिसिस कर रहे होंगे तो ऐसा नहीं है कि वहां पर आपका रिवीजन नहीं हो रहा है, आपका रिवीजन वहां पर भी होगा. So what score is considered good in AILET? Daksh, if you ask me, I would say a score of 90 plus is excellent in your AILET mock, but you should try and get that score regularly, right? The idea should be कि आप वो score को कितना regularly achieve करते हैं, the score of 90 plus, right? And then because that will also give you the confidence that I can replicate this in the final exam as well. तो वो भी बहुत जरूरी है. Okay. Okay, so guys, I think I'm getting your questions a little late. Okay, any more questions? Tanishka is asking, sir, is it too late to start now? Tanishka, not at all, not at all. But I would say it's the right time to start. So we still have a lot of time. What I've talked about in today's presentation, please focus on those points, right? Try and understand your strengths and weaknesses. Start from that, give more mocks, but I don't think it is too late to start now. Sir, I gave 2019 CLAT and a score of 111. And to be honest, the questions were so direct. Very nice, Shaleen. So 2019 CLAT again. So a lot has changed, Shaleen, now. So we have to be ready for that. But yeah, if you're getting a good score, I think that's a 111 2019 CLAT. Abhi ke liye, I think that's a decent score. Abhi ke liye, Shaleen, abhi ke liye. So there was no reservation box for Delhi students in AILET exam. Ansh, there was litigation on this particular issue, और वो litigation की वजह से काफी issues हुए हैं, because earlier there was supposed to be what do you call it, a quota, right, for Delhi students, which is not there, right, because of the court's verdict. तो इसीलिए वो हटा दिया गया है अब domicile based reservation. It is no more there in NLU Delhi. Okay, so Lavesh is saying, sir, GA section, I got 30 marks. It's a good score for the first mock. Lavesh, it's an excellent score, right? I would say it's an excellent score, but more importantly, can you get this score again in mock 2, mock 3 and mock 4? अगर आप ये कर पा रहे हैं, Lavesh, then it's a good score. अगर it was like one of the mocks and एक में आ गया और तो ऐसा है तो I don't think, I think it will make your life easy. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होने वाला एक अगर mock में. But yeah, nothing like I'm not taking anything away from you. You have got a very good score, which 30 is a very good score. But all I'm saying is कि लवेश एक दो mocks और दीजिएगा और फिर देखिए कि आपका क्या ये same score आता है. अगर yes, if the answer is yes, then yeah, then we are on the right track. सर फिर NLU बैंगलोर का भी हटा देना चाहिए, ये तो चीज अंश अगेन आई मीन वी कांट रियली डू मच अबाउट इट, बट या आई अंडरस्टैंड योर फीलिंग, राइट. आपकी जो दिल की बात है वो मुझे समझ में आ रही है ये हटा देना चाहिए, but yeah, that's not in our hand. What's in our hand, I think we should be more not worried about that, but more focused on that, right? We should be more focused on what we can do, right? Something which is not in our hands, right? We should not contemplate too much about that. Okay. Thank you, Kashish, for the nice words. Guys, any more questions? Last few minutes of the session. So if you have any more questions, please do ask. And in case you like the session, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel, and do share with your friends in case you feel that it could help them. Thank you, Sarthak. Thank you. Any more questions, guys? Last call. Okay, so I've got the final call from my team as well. So I think it's now time to say bye, and thank you for your time, guys. And hopefully we will have more sessions, right? We'll have a session on AILET as well, how to go about it. So thank you for your time. Bye-bye. And I think